The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
At first, we hit your gadgets with our state-of-the-art digitalized mobile studio with the debate on the road behind the wheels. Later, we launched our magnificent studios located on Plot 1A, Sewagude Close, Lukulinanganda, Machindye, Kampala, where we bring to you our must-watch shows like The Mighty Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. Hotline, Mondays, 7 p.m. As for legal matters, Twins at Bar, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Wednesdays, 6 p.m. is Afro-Caribbean Link, where we connect Africa with the Caribbean. Voltage on Thursdays, 7 p.m. featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kiza Besige every Friday, 12 p.m. with his call to action against injustices. Snap Talk, Saturdays, 6 p.m. with the trio. A must-watch, The Political Dice, Sundays, 8 p.m. with the duo that never stammers, and so much more. Watch us live on all our social media platforms. We are The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besige.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digital.
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here every Friday from midday to 2 p.m. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digital TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Ennaku z'omwezi ziri mwenda, omwezi tuli mu gwa 10, omwaka tuli mu 2024. Mbaniriza program Mighty Drive tuba tukeddewo n'okubatuusaako amawulire munnaye agabaddewo ate nga tetunnatandika programu yaffe. Mu bujjuvu amannya nze Farida, Bikobere ngenda kubanga ate mbayisaayisaamuko mu ebyo ebyabaddewo olunaku lw'eggulo awo no tutandike programu yaffe esobole okubanga ate tugitambuliza ddala. Njagala okubategeeza ntuli live on Facebook, osobola okutusanga ku The Alternative Uganda oba TikTok TV ate ku YouTube ojja kubanga otusanga ku The Alternative Uganda. Olunaku lwa leero Uganda ejaguza emyaka 62 okuva lwe yafuna independence oba we yafuna obwetwaze. Gabeera meefuga era wane Uganda ebeera public holiday era abo bonna abakola mu public offices ndowooza kati batulabira waka waabwe mayumba. Njagala okwagaliza bana Uganda Independence Day nungi nga bwe reflectinga kwebyo bye twesuubiza oba bye twasuubiza bana Uganda n'okubitunuulira oba twabituuseeko oba twabivaako. Theme ya leero egamba nti a recommitment to secure and fortify our destiny. Je tugenda okubanga tutambulirako okucelebrating Independence Day ey'olunaku lwa leero. Era celebrations zino zigenda kubanga ziyindira wali e Busia era nga zijja kuba wali ku Busiko Teachers Training college we bagenda okubanga ate ba celebratingira okwefuga okw'emyaka enkaaga mwebiri. Uganda yali under British protectorate okuva mu mwaka gwa 1894 okutuuka mu mwaka gwa 1962. Egyo gibeera myaka 68 nga ate munayo abazungu oba abafuzi b'amatwale bakyatufugira ddala. Kakati tujja kubanga totunuulira Uganda ebadde ne ba president bameka okuva we twafuna independence ate paka we tutuuse wano olunaku lwaleero. President waffe yasooka nga twakafunira ddala independence mu mwaka gwa 1962 yalisa Edward Mutesa II era ngono yatufugira ddala oba yafuga Uganda okuva mu mwaka gwa 1962 okutuukira ddala mwaka gwa 1966. Kakati munnayo yo bamujja engalo mu kibya omukulu Apollo Milton Obote I n'atukwatamu awo n'afuga Uganda okuva mu mwaka gwa 1966 n'atambuliza ddala okutuuka mu mwaka gwa 1971. Kakati Apollo bw'avaawo ne tufuna Idi Amin Dada era n'afuga Uganda okuva mu mwaka gwa 1971 okutuuka mu mwaka gwa 1979. Kakati oyo bwe yavaawo ate ne tufuna Yusuf Kironde munnange oyo n'atufugira emyezi 3 gyokka okuva ennaku z'omwezi nga 13 April omwaka gwa 1979 okutuusa ennaku z'omwezi nga 2 mwezi gwa June mu mwaka gwe gumu ogwa 1979. Oyo bwe twamuvaako oba bwe yatuvaako ate munaye ne tufuna Pomuwanga. Ono nno yafuga Uganda okumala ennaku 10 zokka kubanga ye yatufuga kuva ennaku z'omwezi bwe twava ku Useful Kironde ne tudda ku Godfrey Lukonge Binaayisa. Ono yafuga Uganda okuva mu mwaka gwa 1979 okutuusa omwaka gwa 1980. Bwe twava ku Lukongwe ne tufuna Pomuwanga. Ono yafuga Uganda okumala ennaku 10 zokka era nga yafuga Uganda okuva ennaku z'omwezi nga 12 omwezi gwa May 1980 okutuukira ddala ennaku z'omwezi nga 22 omwezi gwa May 1980 nga ye president wa Uganda for 10 days. Oyo nno ne bamujja naye engalo mu kibya omukulu Apollo Milton Obote n'akomawo omulundi ogwokubiri era kyovola abamuyita Apollo Milton Obote II era n'afuga Uganda okuva mu mwaka gwa 1980 paka omwaka gwa 1985. Kakati Apollo n'agibwawo omukulu Tito Okello Lutwa. Ono n'afuga Uganda okuva omwaka gwa 1985 okutuusa omwaka gwa 1986. Kakati okuva mu mwaka gwa 1986 okutuusa olwaleero omukulu Yoweri Kaguta Museveni yakyatukwatidde bendera era nga he is the current president of Uganda era tumuyita His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni n'erinnya lye twafunye mu previous election tibuhabulwa era nga Uganda ebadde ne ba presidents 8 naye kusinziira ku history osobola okugamba nti ba president 9 olw'ensonga nti Apollo Milton Obote yakomawo tulina Milton Obote I ne Milton Obote II. So no yeyo history ya Uganda okuva we twafuna obwetwaze mu mwaka gwa 1962 ne ba presidents bwe bazze bakyuka abatufuzeeko emyezi abafuzeeko emyaka 3 n'abatufuzeeko ennaku okutuusa ate omwaka gwa 2024 nga tukyali n'omukulu His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Ono abadde mu ntebe agenda kuweerezaamu ddala emyaka 40 nga ye president wa Uganda. Byonna byakoledde Uganda ebimu tubiraba n'ensobi weewaawo weziri n'era ndowooza nti kusinziira ku bitagenda bulungi kyekya informinze theme y'olunaku lwaleero egamba nti a recommitment to secure and fortify our destiny. Gyetugenda okubanga ate tutambulizaako independence celebrations ez'olunaku lwaleero. Mbaagaliza ameefuga amalungi bannayuganda mwenna. Nga sinera biranja okubajjukiza nti tuli mu breast cancer awareness month. We are wearing pink okubanga to raising awareness eri monange bannayuganda oba abakyala mwenna against breast cancer era ate munayo osobola okubanga ate weekeberako oba weetangira okubanga ate tofuna kirwadde ekyo. Sobola okukebera your breasts gweka kyala ewaka nasobola okumanya oba oyina discomfort oba oyina any swelling okusobola okubanga ate munaye kansa bwe bamuzuula nga kyali ku stages ez'owansi osobola okubanga ate omujjanjaba n'awonera ddala bulungi nnyo. So bwe munanga ayina information yenna about breast cancer tukusaba okozesa emitimbagano, kozesa social media zizo, abantu b'obeeramu obabeere nga ate raising awareness about breast cancer kubanga kirwadde weekiri wano naddala ffe abanywa amazzi agali mu bucupa bwa plastic bwe gabanga gabadde mu heat ne gahiitinga ennyo ag'amazzi munnaye tegabeera malungi ga kunywa kubanga gayinza okubanga gakuleetera obulwadde bwa kansa. So twewale nnyo n'emmere eno eri processed canned foods byonna tusobola okubanga tubyewala. Food kye tuyita emmere y'emmere gye bajje mu nnimiro n'ogirya naye olabanga emmere eyise mu industry ne bagiprocessing okugifuula ekintu ekirala eyo emmere tebeera safe eri omubiri gwo. Okugeza ng'obummonde baba bujje mu nnimiro n'obuleeta mu kitchen n'obulya that is okay. Bw'obujja mu nnimiro ne babutwala mu company yonna ne babukubamu crisps ate munnaye yemmere bateri si nnungi nnyo eri obulamu bwo. Ngenda kubanga ate ntambulako ngendako mawulire agabaddewo olunaku lw'eggulo nsobola okubanga ate negatibwako omugenyi wange Engineer Olanya Olenge tugenda kubanga ate twogera nsonga za gold wano mu Uganda ne Africa okutwaliza awamu. Kakati olunaku lw'eggulo buli lunaku z'omwezi nga 8 omwezi ogw'ekumi buli mwaka Buganda ekuza olunaku lwabwe olwa bulungi bwansi. Era olunaku lw'eggulo ebikujjuko bino byabadde eri mu Kyaggwe era ng'omukolo guno gwabaddeko Kamalabyonna Katikkiro wa Buganda Charles Peter Mayiga. Era ono ku mukolo guno yayogedde ebintu bingi kwabaddeko n'abakulu okuva Emmengo nga boogerako eri abantu. Kakati mu thimu ya taasa obutonde Katikkiro Charles Peter Mayiga yayogedde era n'asaba gavumenti n'agamba nti naye lwaki ye tategeera nsonga lwaki gavumenti tekendeeza ku masannyalaze geesaba bannayuganda okulaba nti tusobola okubanga ate tutaasiriza obutonde. N'agamba nti kyennyamiza nnyo okuba nti mu kyasa kino ate osobola okusanga abantu abakyafumbira ku nku oba ku manda. N'agamba nti nga twagala okutaasa obutonde which is a burning issue, climate change is here. N'agamba nti ate tulina okubanga ate tukendeereza koko bannayuganda ku ssente ze basasula mu masannyalaze awo nno basobola okubanga ate basobola okwaffordinga clean energy awo nno baleke okubanga batema ebibira okubanga bawokya amanda. Era ono yagambye nti ye tategeera nsonga lwaki omuntu gw'oyita investor asobola okujja n'ateekawo industry mu wetland ng'ate ogobamu bannayuganda. N'agamba nti omuntu yenna gwe tuyita investor ayina okubanga ayina obusobozi obugula ettaka ku lukalu nga si mu wetland ate n'asobola okubanga asetingawo search and industry esobola okubanga ewa bannayuganda emirimu. N'agamba nti si kirungi nnyo kubanga oleeta investor naye ng'ate ayonoonawo obutonde ekitegeeza nti aba aleese obulabe eri bannayuganda nti n'ebyo ebigendererwa bye ye aba takyabiraba. Ono yakubidde gavumenti omulanga n'agamba nti ndowooza ke kadde basobole okubanga ate bakendeeza ku prices z'amasannyalaze waneene ewaffe e Uganda. N'agamba nti ekisookera ddala Uganda efunye hydropower plants nnyingi nnyo ye takyategeera na lwaki tubanga ate tukyasasula amasannyalaze ku miwendo egy'owaggulu bwe gityo. So no ndowooza nti omulanga gwo gavumenti ejja gutwala mu bulungi as we are celebrating 62 years of independence. Ndowooza bajja kubaako ne bye bakola okulaba nga ate ba recommitting to secure our destiny as the theme of the day goes. Kakati ababaka okuva mu LDC oba ba members ba kuva mu LDC munnaye banono bayitiddwa akakiiko ka Parliament and Legal Affairs ku nsonga ya bill ey'omubaka Lumo Richard gye yatebolinga mu Parliament. Banono ekyabayisizza kubanga ate bawa endowooza zaabwe nga bannamateeka ku bill eno. Abakulu bano bakulembeddwamu omukulu Paul Mukiibi era nga bawadde nabo the opinions about the bill. Bano bagambye nti bill eno teyina mulamwa era teyina kyeyinza kubanga egattako ku politics wa opposition oba political parties waneno ze toyina mu Uganda. Bano bagamba nti eno bill y'omubaka ekisookera ddala teyina motive eriawo era nga bagamba nti it is not necessary okubanga ate bagiisa oba eyonoona essente ez'omuyi wa musolo nti ate abantu bagidiscussingako. Kaakati ne bagamba nti kale kabe kasinge nga bagiyisizza nga baagala okumanya ani anaabeera ng'ategeka obululu buno obugenda okubanga bubeerawo mu parliament era nga bugenda plan ani agenda okubanga abupulaninga era nga bagenda kubanga balonderawa. So nno bano bagamba nti ene bill teyina mulamwa ate era tebayina na nsonga lwaki bagenda mu maaso okubanga bagidiscussinga kubanga ekigendererwa kyayo kya kusitifolinga enkola eya multi party dispensation era nga bagamba nti ene saawa si yentuufu ey'okubanga ate badiscussinga bill nga bwezityo nga ey'omukulu Honorable Richard Lumu gye yatebolinga mu parliament ng'agamba nti ye ayagala leader of opposition asobole okubanga alondebwa ababaka ba parliament olw'ensonga nti ono abeera leading ababaka ba parliament ye tategeera nsonga lwaki aba ebibiina bye bisalawo okubanga ani gwe bironda. So nno ababaka abo abavudde ku Law Development Center bo bagambye nti eno bill teyina mulamwa era tebeetaaga na kubanga ate bagiteesaako bo ng'ababaka mu parliament era ndowooza kati nabo beeyongedde ku political parties etaano eziwakanya bill eno ng'era bagamba nti egendereddwamu okubanga ennafu ya ebyobufuzi bya opposition waneeno mu Uganda. Nga naatera okumaliza amawulire gange kubanga omugenyi waffe yatwegaseeko dda olunaku olwokubiri week eno yennyini gye tulimu ababaka oba members ba NUP bavaayo ne badda ku mitimbagano nga bagamba nti ate memba waabwe ate ng'ono kansala wa Kawempe yawambiddwa abantu ababadde mu drone in plain clothes era nga tebamanyiwa gye yatwalibwa. Bano bagamba nti omuntu waabwe yali ava ku NOP headquarters wali ekamwocha so nno munnange nga adda eguwe. Kakati bano ne bagenda ku mitimbagano nga beekubira enduulu ngera bagamba beetaaga omuntu waabwe alirizingibwe. Kakati olunaku lw'eggulo poliisi yavuddeyo ne confirminga nti beba arrestinze wabula tebaawambye nti omukulu ono bamukutte olw'ensonga nti ayina emisango gy'alina okubanga ate addamu naye ne bagamba nti ali mu safe custody mu police era nga ajja kubanga anytime ng'okunoonyereza kuwedde ajja kubanga aleetebwa mu kooti atandika okubeera endemba n'emisango poliisi gyetaavuddeyo kubanga ate eyanja mu kaseera ako. Omukulu ono ayogerwako ye Dennis Sennono ate ng'ono kansala wa Kawempe naye abantu abamu bavuddeyo ne boogera ku nsonga eno eyakiwamba abantu nti kisusse nti kati ate abakumaddembe batagetinga nnyo bannabyabufuzi abali mu opposition era ne bagamba nti bo tebakitegera na lwaki babanga ate n'omuntu atalina musango bakujwetekako ebisangosango ate munnange kukakkana nga bakuarrestinze. Bo kye bagamba nti omukulu Patrick Onyango ye kye yayise arrest bo tebakitwala nga arrest kubanga ono yabadde atambula abakulu ne bava mu taxi ne bamubuukira ne bamukwata ne bamutwala era nga SG w'ekibiina kya NUP omukulu David Louis Lubongo yagambye nti ekyo kye baakoze kimenya mateeka era nga bagenda kubanga ate nabo baggulawo omusango mu kkooti ogw'okubanga ate bawamba abantu baabwe ate oluvannyuma poliisi nevaayo negamba mbu yaba arrestinze naye ng'enkwata gyeba yabakuttemu ate ebeeragira ddala nti bawambiddwa. So nno tujja kusaba poliisi esobole okubanga eyanguyiriza okunoonyereza esobole okubanga ate ereeta omuntu omukulu oyo Dennis Sennono mu kooti asobole okubanga ate addamu emisango egimuvunaanwa okusinga bwe munaamukuumira eyo gye mumukuumidde ate justice ye ebeere delayed. Ngenda kubanga mmaliriza n'eggulire lyange okuva wali eri ku kasozi k'abayivu e Makerere University kakati munnaye abakozi ba wano teaching and non-teaching staff basazeewo ne balangirira akedimo bano no balangiridde strike etali eno ey'abaana etambula eyaweewe naye ng'eyaabwe yakuteeka wansi ebikola nga bagamba nti okutuusa administration ng'eterezezaamu emisaala gyabwe era nga bano bagamba nti esente zaabwe zaali approved oba baza approving mu budget eno eyayita eya 2024 financial 2024-2025 era ne baweebwa obuwumbi 12 ne miliyoni 600 era nga sente zino zigendereddwamu kubanga ziharmonizinga emisaala gyabwe ekyennaku bano bagamba nti tebannafuna letters zonna eziba notifyinga nti ate emisaala gyabwe gyabadde ate nga bagiterezezaamu wabula bagamba nti n'abo abafunyeeko abamu ku bo abafunyeeko ebbaluwa zino bagamba nti ebbaluwa bagikuwa ne bakulagana grade kijogenda okubanga ofuniramu omusaala n'ate ne batakuteekerako amount oba sente mmeka zogenda okubanga ofuna bano ne bagamba nti okutuusa administration ng'eterezezaamu ate munnaye si bakuddamu kubanga ate bakola omulimu gwonna ku ssettendekero e Makerere era ne bagamba nti mu kuteesaganya ne administration bano tebaateekawo obukwakulizo bwonna naga nti era beewuunya nnyo administration ng'evuddeyo n'egamba nti ate okubanga mufuna essente zino ate ne babateekako obukwakulizo nti abamu ne babadimotinga ate abo nga abayonja university abacleaning ate ne bagamba mbu beetaaga kirina nga yamala senior 4 ate ne bagamba waliyo kirina e Makerere eyeetaaga okubanga ayina senior 4 certificate ye certificate ekola mugaso ki mu kukirininga bano ne bagamba nti tebagenda kubikkiriza paka nga administration ekoze ekituufu nga bwe bakkaanya ngenda kubanga mpumulamuko katono nnyo bwe nkomawo ngenda kuba negatiddwako omugenyi waffe ow'olunaku lwaleero engineer Olanya Olenge ate ne cost wange ow'olunaku lwaleero omumbejja Luwedde Lilian. Happy Independence Day to all of you Ugandans. Ngenda kubanga mpumulamuko katono nnyo komawo.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digital.
as he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here every Friday from midday to 2 p.m. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digital TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
At first, we hit your gadgets with our state-of-the-art digitalized mobile studio with the debate on the road behind the wheels. Later, we launched our magnificent studios located on Plot 1A, Sewagude Close, Lukulinanganda, Machindye, Kampala, where we bring to you our must-watch shows like The Mighty Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m., Hotline, Mondays, 7 p.m. As for legal matters, Twins at Bar, Tuesdays, 11 a.m., Wednesdays, 6 p.m. is Afro-Caribbean Link, where we connect Africa with the Caribbean. Voltage on Thursdays, 7 p.m., featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kiza Besije every Friday, 12 p.m. with his call to action against injustices. Snap Talk, Saturdays, 6 p.m. with the trio. A must-watch, The Political Dice, Sundays 8 p.m. with the duo that never stammers and so much more. Watch us live on all our social media platforms. We are The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Tukulikayo mu kuwummula mukone gatiddwako mugenyi waffe ow'olunaku lwaleero Engineer Olanya Olenge. Tugenda kuba nga twogera nsonga za gold ate munnaye ne impact na butya bwa impact ze gold mining and the impacts ennungi ate nembi. Kakati munnaye ekyenjawulo nti we are going to be discussing I think it will be 90% English because he's very comfortable mu Luzungu Oluganda sirwa buli omu. So ngenda kukubiriza nnyo nti tofaayo nja kubanga nkuddiramuko munnaye mu Luganda nga nkuchipingiramuko katono nnyo ng'abeena mayingo n'abalabye nga basanyuse bali kubanga basiikuula gold nga bagamba kuva we bazuula gold bo tebakyalina na bwavu omuntu okeera ng'onyuse n'emitwalo gyana ku kinaana so nga they are very happy people. So that is one of the impact, though it is good, it is not a bad one. Nti baakera ku makya bo ne bazuula gold na mayingo era ne gufuukira ddala kati omulimu ogw'okubanga baakera ku makya ne bagenda ne bayiikula gold oyo ne batunda ne beefunira akasimbi. Ngenda kubanga nyaniza omumbejja atulamuseeko awo n'omugenyi waffe agenda kubanga ate naye atulamusaako.
Well, good morning. Happy independence, 62 years down the road. So happy independence to all of your viewers. I welcome you on today's edition of the Mighty Drive Show, and in the studios, Engineer Olanya Olenge agenda kubanga ate atulamusaako the discussion egenda kubeera nnyo mu Luzungu era nga bwe tugenda okubanga twogera ku nsonga za gold wano mu Uganda. We cannot go away without talking about the 62 years of independence. I actually saw a post of his about the UBOS report census yetwakamaliriza just of recent. So he's going to be commenting about that and also commenting about the 62 years of independence. Yeah, and then we dive into the topical discussion of the day. It's the Mighty Drive, and we're live on our social media platforms, The Alternative Uganda and Digital TV. You can be part of the discussion by commenting, and then Mombeja will be reading the comments before we come to the end of the show. So you can use Facebook. If the network fails on Facebook, you can also use our YouTube. That's The Alternative Uganda. Please like and follow us on all our social media platforms, and then I'll be telling you more of what we actually do. Happy independence to you. I think let's start it at that.
62 years
yes.
of Uganda's existence. I think it's a milestone. We have to see if there's a lot on table to appreciate and celebrate, if indeed we are practically independent. But I think it's a step in growth. It's a young democracy that is growing. So,
okay. What do you think? Are we practically independent, or we are just independent on paper?
Essentially, yes. Uganda has been trying its best to steer the track record of saying we're independent. Yes, but of course you cannot be an independent state if most of your support to your budget is done by the foreigners. Literally, independence in its state should be when you can stand on your support, on yourself to finance your budget and run the country's affairs without influence of other stakeholders.
Okay.
That is why you will hear political actors say that you can't have a double-sided government that criticizes the West from this side but also receives from the others. So it's a balance of political influence. So you will find the state trying to balance its interest vis-a-vis what they claim political meddling or influence of other forces. You can't expect to be given something for free and you go scot-free. So it's indeed true that the US or any other foreign power would give money to Uganda, but in the long run they will be interested. They will want to have a say by sanctioning your officials if they claim they are corrupt, if they claim they are
human rights violators.
Those kind of issues. So it's a complex situation. But that is how the geopolitics of the world runs. That's how the world plays its politics. But in the context of a growing democracy like Uganda's, I would think we are on a 50-50 scale, or even 40-60 scale.
No.
But I would give my credit to other, if you see the Sahel states, if you look at the Sahel state, the Burkina Fasos, they seem to be having young leaders who have taken power, of course, by gun, who seem to be driving a thorough direction of the previous colonial or post-independence leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, whatever the Patrice Lumumbas were pushing for. If you see these young leaders in the Sahel states, those three countries that have left ECOWAS and are saying, no, this is the direction. They're pushing out the Western powers like France. They're saying we're going to run our own race. I think that is the better direction of independence. That's what I would call independence.
Oh.
Yes.
Could we actually stand when we actually don't have the Western power, or we don't have the Western influence in these African countries?
Do you think Uganda is bold enough to say, since the US is imposing sanctions on our officials, the US even put sanctions on the Speaker of Parliament, the UK placed sanctions on the Speaker of Parliament, the whole Speaker, the number 3 in the country. Do you think Uganda is bold enough or independent enough to say we're going to place sanctions or even declare the ambassador of the US a persona non grata? Do we have that capacity? Are we bold enough to say this as it is?
Yes.
Or we go behind the shadows of the deep state and write apology and make things work when we say different things on the media? So I think we're not as bold as a country. I think recently Namibia is taking a strong stand as saying if you want to come to our country, you're from USA, you're from wherever, you pay some amount of money for visa and we can deny or accept.
Yes.
That is the direction African countries should
It's
take.
the same thing they
we
do.
go through.
Yeah.
So, do you know that Americans, when they're coming to Uganda, don't pay for visa? Do they?
It is a free
American
entry.
citizens come in freely, but when Ugandans are going to America, it's a tug of war. Why do we have to have that imbalance of power?
That is actually one of the ways
So we
to
are
attract
not really
investors
sovereign
in the
as it
country.
is. It is not about investment. This is about free movement of people globally.
Tourism brings in money, maybe. It is one way of attracting tourists into the country.
No, that's just a wrong foreign policy, perhaps. But you see, that's what I was telling you. There are countries that consider themselves superweight, superpowers.
Yes.
Okay?
Do they
America-
consider themselves or
America-
they are actually superpowers?
They've created you see, there's even a picture that they use the media. Okay, if you see the way the US uses the media, if you see the way the UK uses the media, of course the UK plays the politics using BBC. The US does it with CNBC, the CNNs. Okay, even when you look at how the complex of power plays, let me give you a scenario of how the media plays in all this. You see the war going on in Gaza now.
Yeah.
If you read the headlines of CNN and BBC, you will see them saying, Israel at war. If you read the headlines of Al Jazeera, which is playing the Arabs' perspective, they will say, genocide in Gaza.
Yes.
You get the conflict?
Yes.
Genocide in Gaza versus
Israel
Israel
at
at
war.
war. There's a difference there.
Yes.
So they use the media very well to their advantage to play and shape the public opinion. So it's just a decoy. America was humiliated in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Iran, in Syria. They ran away. So if you're a superpower, as you claim, you've lost wars. They've lost battles. They may not be reported officially on the media, but we've seen that. So it's just gymnastics. It's a mindset game. Yeah.
Okay, we could look at how Uganda has been a little bit before we go into our discussion of the day. Like, do you look at the journey of Uganda after independence and Uganda before independence? Do you think Uganda is heading for the better or for the worst?
I think one thing that Uganda has lost is we have allowed so many people to tell our stories as Uganda. We've not really told our own stories. Some of us who grew up in the Museveni era, we've just read and watched about Amin.
Exactly.
We've just read and watched about Obote. We've not really experienced it. But now of late, when you start to understand the dynamics of how the politics was played then, vis-a-vis what is now, you'll realize that a lot of Uganda's history was altered to shape the interest of certain powers. Whatever was said about the founding father of Uganda, Milton Obote, may not be as true as the reality that happened at that time. Whatever was said about Idi Amin Dada may not be as true as whatever happened on the ground. Literally, some of us are beginning to believe that Amin was one of Uganda's best presidents. Surprisingly. But we were fed with Western propaganda by the Western media that Amin was indeed a very bad person.
Yes.
But when you read certain scripts and certain literature, you will begin to realize that indeed, at Amin's time, as president of Uganda, the economy was not as we see it now. By that time, Uganda was more powerful and Uganda was sending aid to other countries.
Yeah, true.
You can't imagine Uganda was sending aid to other countries.
Yes.
Like now we are receiving aid through USAID, UK aid and all that kind of crap. But Uganda was sending aid that time. Uganda was definitely independent by the time Amin was in charge. I think Uganda was independent by Amin's time.
And then now?
So, as we speak now, we are playing to the interests of so many foreign powers who are not visible at far place. So me, what I think about Uganda post and before independence, the history of Uganda or the real happenings of Uganda was not put in context, was really fabricated, and a lot of scripts have been changed about the history of Uganda. The real truth about Uganda's context before and after independence is not what we have been taught in school. It's not what we've been seeing in other literature. The truth is what I've said, and they know it.
Is it intentional?
Yes, it's purposeful. When you control the media, when you control the public narrative, it is what is perceived. If I say you're a bad lady, and you don't speak about your side, or you're not given a chance to speak about your side, and I keep repeating a lie 100 times, the 101st or the 101st time, the lie becomes true.
Yes.
That is what has been told in Uganda. Consecutive lies have been told and fabricated to shape certain political propaganda narratives, and we have Ugandans have embraced certain things wholeheartedly. But personally, I think Idi Amin was a very good president for Uganda. Personally, I believe so. I can defend this now because I've at least gotten some literature. Yes, there were certain mishaps and there, which happens even in this regime. We see people being abducted. We see even in this government. But it wasn't. It's not broadcasted and promulgated as we see it in Amin's regime, because Amin disagreed with the West openly. Okay, and that's why perhaps the West painted Amin a bloodthirsty person. But Amin was a very good president of Uganda, and by Amin's time, Uganda was indeed independent, not as we see it now. That is my honest truth about independence.
Then one wonders, why aren't Ugandans telling their own stories to counter the lies that have been told about
I am a Ugandan. I am saying my part of the story. You are supposed to do your part. To do your part of the story. Don't expect an old man seated somewhere.
Because they experienced it. What I may
They
say,
were there.
I have read. But we have Ugandans who experienced the Amin's regime.
Yes, they're there. Have a chat with them. Have a chat with them. They will tell you. And by the way, if you read certain literature, they will tell you that even in the Amin regime, not all the killings were being done by government. Some of them were being done by unscrupulous characters trying to soil the government and create
to paint a
destabilization.
bad picture.
You know, when you sit, I will encourage you to read some investigative journals, or even watch some investigative scripts. You will see how power plays.
Yeah.
If I want to remove government, I can sit now and say I am 28. I want to be president by 70. I'll start playing my script now. That is exactly what happens in the previous regimes. It's deep, very deep. For you to realize it, you really need to give yourself time to understand how power was played then. It was a very complex situation. There were people who were patient and knew what they wanted and scripted themselves well. Yes.
Could there be time where Uganda is now back on track to what we actually expected? Because now the picture that you've painted, it's like we were going a certain direction, and then along the way, you actually went to a different direction.
Not everything that was in the previous governments were good. Of course, there were ill doings.
Yes.
The same with this government. But I think credit needs to be given where it's due. President Museveni has run his race. He has done his part. We need to give him credit. And of course, also to guide and critique government where things have not been right. This is a respect. This is outside the political scape, whether you're NRM, DP, or wherever. At a certain time, it will be Uganda. Okay, we're running on the same blood, black, yellow, red. It's at the same point, Uganda. So we need to have a very honest conversation where we need to take this country. What is hanging in balance is what next after Museveni? That's a question that everyone lives on.
Yeah.
I have had engagements with friends of mine who just carry their passports everywhere they go. They're not certain about Uganda's next future. So if we're discussing, if we're now celebrating Uganda at 62, can we start to think about a Uganda after Museveni? How do we discuss this transition? Yes, people have argued that transition is happening, but there are Ugandans who have decided to refuse to understand or even refuse to acknowledge that there are anomalies happening, there are situations, there are uncertainties, and this is even deep-seated within top officials in government. Ministers are panicking, MPs are panicking, everyone doesn't seem to know what is happening. Yeah. Those in the military are confused. So we need to have this conversation. A country that has certainties, a country that has good predictions of whatever they know is going to happen. Predictability of a country is very good, not this kind of uncertainty. That's what I could say about independence.
Okay, as we celebrate 62 years, are there some things we could be celebrating in terms of development?
Yeah, a lot, definitely a lot. The infrastructure has improved. We applaud this government for doing what they did. Of course, if you talk to certain cadres in the UPC, they will say whatever was done by NRM was basically renovation of what the UPC did. That's on a lighter note. I can't really. But
you always take up from the person you are.
You know, let me tell you one thing. I want to give credit to the UPC government.
Okay.
They did a lot for this country. If you look at most, if not all, the regional referral hospitals, even Mulago, all this infrastructure was the UPC government, by the way. That is the whole point. The UPC government did a lot for this country than it's being celebrated as we speak. That is the truth. You would find, let me tell you something. In the UPC government, you would travel from Kampala or from Busoga to go study in Kitgum, my home district. Like the likes of Aronda Nyakarema did. Studied in Kitgum High.
Yes.
It was a purposeful arrangement by government to allow Ugandans to integrate. Okay? Now, in this government, it is difficult to find someone moving from let's say, West Nile, going to study in Intare.
That is cool.
Because the government has not made a deliberate effort for even purpose of reintegration, cultural exchange, you know. So even by that time, traditional schools were everywhere. So meaning if I go and study in Kitgum or Gulu or Lira or Pakwach, or go and study maybe in Bushenyi or any other part of Uganda, I will still get the same training. That is not true now. Those days, you will not hear about private schools. It is government schools. And they were all doing well. So it's a shame that we have government schools owned by powerful officials in government, ministers, wherever the case, and members of parliament or key officials in government, and they're charging people expensively, the local wananchi, and we are not even regulating them. Government cannot even have a say that private schools should charge this amount of money because the Minister of Education perhaps is owning schools.
We're actually in a free market economy, so.
Well, I will speak more on the free market economy, even in the gold context. You'll see it later on. That yes, everything has its good and the bad.
Yes.
But sometimes the bad of opening the economy worked so much against Ugandans because they privatized all government assets. Government is as broke as you see them.
So if
Serena used to
Minister
be for
comes
government. Actually,
Minister Kasaija comes
so
and
many
tells
of
us
these
that
facilities
we don't have
used to be
money.
for government. There were banks that were owned by government and they were sold at $1. Are you aware? $1 because of opening up the economy. So some of the fiscal policies that were taken up, some of the interventions that the government accepted when they're coming to power, of course, the IMF was pressing them. World Bank was coming and pounding on Uganda, but I think we should have stuck to the previous systems.
Oh.
Because now we are indebted as a country because we were accepting the systems that were being brought in. But of course you can't, you will blame them, but you never know what kind of political deals were struck by the new government when President Museveni took power. But I think those decisions to liberalize the economy is not as good as we see them now. Because it has failed public schools, it has failed public hospitals. Most public institutions have failed because of that, opening up the economy. Yes.
Okay. There are people who are actually saying that the biggest problem of Uganda right now is President Museveni. Do you agree with
what after
those
President
sayings?
Museveni leaves? President Museveni is immortal. At some point, he will leave. Take it or leave it, he will leave. He has been of late preaching that he's going to heaven. He has a feeling that he's going to heaven. So he knows that he's going. But then I have asked the question, as young Ugandans and people who form the critical mass, what next after Museveni? What conversations are we having? At this point, I would want a situation whereby I would see Robert Chagulanyi and the team at NUP going to have discussions with NRM and saying, where is the future of Uganda? At what point are we going to start sitting and embracing the style of politics in Kenya?
And that's the dialogue.
Where Raila Odinga will go and have a discussion with President Ruto.
But these people are always saying we can't sit with Mr. Museveni.
What is wrong about that? What is wrong about that? What is wrong with Bobi Wine facing Museveni and saying, gentlemen, you've done your part, but can we do this way?
According to him,
what is wrong? I think it's very wrong. It's having very explosive politics for us even to say, I cannot have a sitting or a meal with an NRM person because I am red. That's wrong. The bottom line is we are Ugandans. We all carry the same flag.
You see that, do you see the direction, Honorable Norbert Mautu?
For as long as we don't accept the politics of having conversations, if I have a very strong disagreement with President Museveni, I can't, it doesn't help me telling it to the media. It doesn't. But if I have an opportunity to face the man, I'd rather face Museveni and tell him this is wrong. What do you think he will lose by telling Museveni in his face? Let us say there's an open meeting organized, the media is there, and there's a discussion, and it's more just like you see the presidential
But the people that have actually met President have come out with different statements.
If Bobi Wine is willing to go on a presidential debate, why not meet President Museveni? Organize the same space. That's what I'm trying to say. It is never wrong, but it is. I will be branded a mall if I meet President Museveni. That's wrong. That is actually, if that perception is not dealt with, I've seen Honorable Norbert about struggling with that branding. I don't know how far he has gone with it, but I think it's a wrong branding for Uganda. For as long as we want to grow, that has to change.
Are you trying to insinuate that if our opposition political players don't discuss power transition, Uganda is headed for the dogs after President Museveni?
Me, I can tell you one thing. You've seen explosive Twitter threads that dictate.
And then it might cause a change.
You see, let me tell you something. It's even beautiful that President Museveni is aging. You know, with age comes wisdom. With age comes, there's a way you tone down. Okay? If you've been observing President Museveni of 2001.
Because he does not see Uganda without him.
Has that platform been offered?
We had the iPod. And then these political parties shunned away.
So that means there was a platform, but there were people who opted out of the platform.
But there are people
who do you blame in this case? Who do you blame in this case? Who do you blame in this case? The responsibility of Uganda lies both within those who control the echelons of power in opposition and those who control it in the state. So it's two-way. If one says we are here in iPod, the other says we are not coming, who do you blame? The answer is for the public. But you can clearly see the script. We need to tone down from the very polarized style of politics. That's the whole point.
What's the role citizens play, or Ugandans actually have to play when it comes to changing each and everything? Our
biggest problem has been that citizens have not been proactive. Citizens have not been built to be proactive. Citizens are not civically aware and cautious. Okay, they can't demand for even their leaders to be on the same table to discuss. They can't demand for accountability. And that, as the Human Rights Commission is supposed to ensure.
Commercial break.
On the UBOS report, I have literally had conversations with so many people. Personally, I've written articles and opinions on this right before the census came on, by the way. I started criticizing UBOS in 2021 for purposefully doing things wrongly. One thing I've learned, UBOS has been sleeping on job. Two, where UBOS has reached, we need to take on them legally. And I'm thinking of organizing a few young people and we take on UBOS legally. The third thing, some of the leaders in UBOS have to take responsibility for the errors they've been making. Not only this time, they've been making these errors progressively. If you look at data
Even
from other international, yes, they've been making errors. UBOS has been sleeping on job for the past 10, 15 years.
But they say that the results of the 2014 census are correct.
Let me tell you something. UBOS has been sleeping. Even if you compare the data of UBOS 2014 to data and statistics at the local level districts, you will see wrong data from hospitals, because there's data at hospitals. Police stations, there's data. Not so? At all levels of government, you see data, and they all don't compare well with UBOS's data. Look at what international agencies who do their own data surveys because they want to give aid, bank on. Look at data that USAID has, data that UNICEF has. You will see totally different. The media has been used to paint Karamoja bad. Karamoja is not as poor as they've portrayed them. It's a mindset game. It's a land that is worth millions, even billions of shillings. I can't be poor on that yardstick. I may not have the cash now, but I'm having resources. I'm having things that I can call assets that I can liquidate, okay? So I can't be poor. So I don't agree with the context of saying Northern Uganda is poor, or Acholi is poor, Karamoja is poor, West Nile is poor. We are rich, very rich. That is where UBOS lost it in the first instance. So even now when Busoga woke up and said, hey, we are the most fertile region in terms of giving birth, how do you say we are declining in population? So this time around, UBOS had been making these errors, these deliberate errors for a while. Not until this time around they were caught pants down. The whole country is like, But they've been doing it purposefully for a while. This has been going on. Now let me tell you, do you know what we're doing in Acholi sub-region? We're actually trying to generate debate and generate initiatives to have independent research entities. To do research, we're not banking on government data. We're going to do our own research because we have statisticians around. We will do our own research, mobilize using the local structures, do our own study, then we compare with government. You will be shocked that the data that government has provided through UBOS is a whole total mess. And you know what they do? Purposefully, there are people in government who use this data, who use people in UBOS to create this kind of falsified data or raw and refined data.
For what intentions?
For what intention?
These are big
number
claims.
one, to create that inferiority complex that I've said, that you poor, you accept it, and then you are destroyed mentally. Number two, they use it as a way to lobby for government funding, for resources from these development partners. So you're using Northern Uganda, or you're using Acholi or Karamoja to call them poor, to lobby for funding that you steal massively. You've seen what has happened in Northern Uganda. With the PRDP funds, with the NUSAF funds, a lot of money was stolen. Even money that was supposed to help people who were just on their knees from the war of LRA was stolen. People are greedy in this country, and it's a shame. None of them is even in Lozera. They're all working scot-free. I was shocked to see somebody was convicted for corruption. He even confessed. The president has pardoned the person. It's a very complex situation. I personally want to have a conversation with the president on corruption, and I think he's not serious about corruption. Personally, I think the president or his aides are not telling him the truth or the reality on the ground. Ugandans are very angry.
And that's what he was saying.
The level of anger in the public is really overwhelming. That this country is just sitting on a time bomb. One day things will explode. And we need to have these conversations. There are people who have access to the president and never tell him the truth. I have had access to the president several times, and I've told him my mind. That is where we should go. This level of psychophancy I see in the NRM, everyone going there and say, we should tell the president the truth. Sometimes we blame the president, but let me tell you this. Sometimes we blame the president. But the level of psychophancy around the president is what kills the country, is what fails the president in making decisions. When we feed the president with the wrong intelligence information, with the wrong data, with the wrong information of what is in the public, we lose out. So that is why the president at some point started to do his own things, to do his own benchmarks. You will be shocked the president can call you to find out something. He does that. Why? Because he believes the system around him is not giving him sometimes the right information, most times in case.
Is there a possibility that Ugandans are beyond 45, as it is indicated by UBOS?
The population? UBOS says we have not, literally they're saying we're not moving in numbers.
We haven't.
They're saying that actually have lost population almost in 1 million. But let me ask you this, let me tell you this. There was no war for the past time. There was no famine. COVID came, yes, but how many people did COVID kill? That is if COVID indeed came through and killed people.
No, it came.
Whatever the case, I don't believe in the COVID scam as well. But indeed, you see this complex. The things that would kill people in big numbers would be war. What war is Uganda facing?
We haven't faced a war.
Yes.
We're only having terrorists.
Come on. How many people have died because of terrorism? The numbers don't even reach 500 people. Even in Karamoja, where there is some bit of insecurity, the numbers don't go to that much.
Maybe indicators show that...
the president just needs to know that one thing that has gone wrong is the institutions are very weak, they're not doing the right job, and the president must know there are powerful individuals that are running this country, with or without him. Okay. Sometimes certain things happen in this country and the president also gets shocked like you.
Especially issues to do with corruption. He didn't know. He's just fine.
Of the day, a very good morning.
Sawagude Close, Lukulinanganda, Machindie, Kampala, where we bring to you our must-watch shows like The Mighty Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. Hotline, Mondays, 7 p.m. As for Legal Matters, Twins Days, 7 p.m. Featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kiza Besije every Friday, 12 p.m. with his call to action against injustices. Snap Talk, Saturdays, 6 p.m. DG Talk. Real issues, real talk.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real.
Reports, the numbers and the mix up. And one is asking, how can an entity of that magnitude make such a small mistake? They may call it a small mistake as the spokesperson. Then by the way, Mr. Olanya, it is not that they gave wrong numbers. They just mixed up numbers. So they corrected and the correct numbers are there. Do you agree with the numbers that they updated in their report?
Total overall means they start dismissing people right from the Askari. Up to the top person in UBOS is Uganda Bureau of Statistics. They're a whole joke. I have given you what has done. They have not been making these mistakes just now. And they are not mistakes because they're deliberate. I've given you the reason why I say they're deliberate. And it is a targeted move. There are syndicates within UBOS. So UBOS has become a cartel that runs a shadowy approach. They call it the war of data science. They have created a simple war that they use they call it soft war. Okay?
Yeah.
So it's an institution that needs to be investigated. For me, I've told you, we are still trying to compare notes and gather a few data on it, but we may take UBOS legally for the mess they've created over time. And we have these facts.
So if it is deliberate, that means that it is supported by the state.
Let me tell you, not everything that happens, or if I am employed by state and I make a deliberate error, that error is for the state. That may not be the official position of the state. The state might also be consuming information because you are mandated to do the job and they're consuming without knowing. So I may not really confirm that the state also is part of that confusion or the cartel and mafiaism in UBOS. But UBOS is a scam, a total scam.
Okay, let's leave the UBOS discussion and go into our discussion of the day, the geopolitics of the gold industry in Uganda, something like that. We started about Kilembe mines. Do you remember that, was it SST or something, that happened between the years of 1956 and I think the early 1980s? And the Kilembe mines, do you think it is relevant to re-innovate and now give Kilembe mines the rights to start extracting minerals?
Yesterday, as I was going to pick my ATM card from one of the outlets, I happened to, it is just along Clement Road, I think Clement Road, yes, near Airtel main office. I happened to see a signpost written Kilembe Mines, the old signpost of the day. Oh, I think I'll go back there and take a photo with that old structure of Kilembe Mines.
Yes.
Then I remembered the conversation we had at the Mineral Wealth Conference, which happened in Serena, which I happened to attend. And the minister, Honorable Nankabira, did a very good job and said that government has finished the process of identifying a suitable company to get to run the Kilembe Mines. So I can say that Kilembe Mines will get back on track. The unfortunate bit was that from my investigation, they were saying Kilembe Mines was mining copper.
Yes,
but
that's what
the unfortunate bit is Kilembe Mines was mining more than copper. They were talking copper, cobalt. But you see, and cobalt is a mineral that is highly valued. That's why you see there's chaos in Congo. We have it here, yes.
Actually, that is the reason they gave that because we are heading into clean energy and all that, and we are producing electric vehicles, so we are in need of copper.
It's a critical metal that is required, even copper. But I will tell you one fact. Previously, the company that was running Kilembe Mines, or Kilembe Mines Company Limited, which I saw there, which I'll go back definitely and take a photo of the structure, because I was excited to see that, hey, this is where it is. It's a coordination office, liaison office.
Okay.
From my investigation, of course, minerals don't exist alone. Gold will always exist with silver or some bit of copper.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Kilembe Mines, they were not mining only copper. The unfortunate bit was the mafias or the cartels running Kilembe Mines then was only declaring copper. So they did...
Which other minerals were there?
A lot more minerals. A lot more minerals. That one, I'll tell you, it's called the minerals politics, so we'll leave it at that. But just know, the fact is, Kilembe was not mining only copper. Unfortunate enough that they were not declaring the other minerals. And of course, this vigilance goes to government. They need to up their vigilance. The mineral inspectors at Entebbe need to up their game. The mineral police needs to up this game. URA needs to up its game because the mineral sector...
The ministers and...
Could that be the reason why they were partially stopped?
Of course, there were so many reasons that were given for stopping Kilembe that we may not go into. But just know, it is getting back on track. But previously, there was a lot of wrongdoing being done at Kilembe. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the gold. People call it the gold scam and then the gold whatever. Let's start it at that. What is actually not happening, or what are we not understanding, we as the Ugandans, when it comes to gold?
Personally, I would think gold is a very interesting sector. And I would encourage every Ugandan to get into the gold sector. I appreciate the Ministry of Energy. And surprisingly, the Ministry of Energy, not surprisingly, I would be victimizing them. But fortunate enough, the Ministry of Energy is being led by women, both at the technical wing and at the political wing. At the political wing, we have Honorable Nyamutoro, Honorable Ruth Nankabirwa. At the political wing, we have the Permanent Secretary, Engineer Irene Batebe. She's doing an amazing job.
Yes.
Women at the echelon of power at the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. Ministry of, commissioners, they have about four commissioners who are ladies. Agnes Alaba, Commissioner of Mines. Very good job being done there. And they have tried to reawaken the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. And when you see the ministry or the sector is opening up, it's because of these amazing women at the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, and I want to give them kudos. The president really did a good job of ensuring that the ministry is under women, and they're really doing an amazing job.
Yes.
And they are doing a good job. I appreciate them for that. Previously, there was a lot of drama and chaos, but I would, from the first instant, I would encourage everyone or every Ugandan to join the gold sector, and I have my reasons for that. Number one, if you look at the global dynamics now, gold is the biggest thing. Even if they're talking about minerals in Uganda, the other minerals are just escorting gold. Even if they're talking graphite in Kitgum, my home district in Orong, it does it along gold. Gold is the biggest, okay? Even if they're talking copper, it's gold. Even if they're talking vermiculite, all these minerals are just there, but at the moment, the conversation, the global conversation is gold. Can you imagine? Gold price has shot within just a space of 7 months from $60,000 a kilogram to now $84,000 in Dubai. As we speak now, 1 kilo of gold is $84,000. That is over 300 million Uganda shillings. And a kilo of gold looks, it can be a very simple bar. Let me show you. It can be the size of this phone, just a kilo. Can be this size. And it is over 300 million. You can't just jump into it tomorrow. Like now, like Bank of Uganda wants to jump into it. So you will hear maybe a story that Bank of Uganda has been scammed because they want to start buying gold. I will talk price. So those are the 3 P's. Procedure, purity, and the price. You must understand. That is like the gold Bible. That must be followed to the dot. Of course, this is stipulated by the World Gold Council, which is an entity that superintends over gold transactions globally and how the gold trade operates. I can't go by leaving it and say that gold is shrouded in a lot of secrecy, enigma, a lot of fantasy. I mean, it's fictitious. Okay? And so many people fear to join the sector, and I think people should join the sector.
Because there are a lot of scammers in the field.
We have seen those scenarios.
So many
Let me
people
give you an
fear
example.
to
Let me
join.
give you an example. Gold has done so much good in Uganda.
Yeah, it was ranked in 2022 as #1 export.
Yes.
If I give you a perspective, just simple perspective, you've heard of Arua Park in Kampala here? That park has grown because of gold. The arcades you see there has grown because of gold. The arcades you see there, that entire Arua Park has grown because of the gold trade. It is unofficial, but that is the truth, I'm telling you. I've done my background checks. I know what I'm saying. Arua Park has grown because of the gold trade. Likewise, Arua City is growing because of the gold trade. Arua City unofficially runs about 10 to 15 shops buying gold. Unofficially. It runs some refineries. And the gold comes in from, of course, DRC and South Sudan. That is why you'd ask yourself, that what is happening in Arua? There are people who've been asking questions. What is happening in Arua? One of them is Owo, who calls himself Hasso King, was asking, why is it at Arua they have held big concerts than even Kampala? They have hosted Awili Logombas, they hosted Fali Epupa, they hosted international comedians, the Basketmouths were here. There's just last weekend, Sabinos from Nigeria was there. They have just announced Harmonize coming to Arua. Arua is a city in Uganda that is growing fastest. Arua is actually growing faster than Kampala. That is the truth. Why? The gold trade. Arua in a day on approximate, the data that I got from the UN, on approximate, that was around 2020, 2021, during the COVID. Arua was controlling or transacting gold trade that comes in between 50 kilograms to 100 kilograms a day. Meaning Arua was running in millions of dollars daily. Millions of dollars. That's an economy Kampala cannot even do in a day. Millions of dollars. I'm not talking shillings, millions of dollars in a day. So yes, the gold trade is good, and we've seen it in Arua and how it's growing the city. This year alone, at peak times when gold is mined heavily, especially the rainy seasons, because most of the gold comes in from DRC and South Sudan. Ye area, Kapoita and all that, the gold is brought in. Arua is just a transit city. Of course, from there are some makeshift refineries, but they bring it always to Kampala and Entebbe. But Arua ran this trade for a while, and is controlling the trade of gold in Uganda.
But then one wonders, why isn't government sabotaging the trade?
The people in the gold trade are not simple people. these are big men. We would call them the big boys. So the gold trade has a very complex, and that's why I said procedures. You need to understand procedure. You need to understand what is the trade, who is doing what in the trade, if you want to venture into it. So you know where to step and where not to step. But the gold the gold trade is quite amazing. It's a business that can really earn money. But I want to appreciate government of Uganda by trying to bring up regulation. They brought in the Mineral Act of 2022, and they're trying to make amendments, the regulation into mining, and the regulations now for the artisanos. Artisanos, for the first time, have been recognized. Yet globally, artisanal miners contribute 20% of the gold on the global scale. But in Uganda's context, because there's no, except for Wagagai that has just come in Busia, there was no large-scale mining company. So most of the gold, 80% of the gold that comes from our small mines is from artisanos. So the artisanos are now being recognized by government, and I think government needs to fast-track the process of putting the regulation to that, so that they have a transition for the from the previous law to the new law, and having the artisanos recognized. That notwithstanding, we need to appreciate the fact that there are still dynamics that affects them, and like the use of cyanide and mercury into the mining, which I think entities like Impact and Planet Gold have been trying to help, so that they leave that use of mercury, because mercury would definitely affect people. Mercury is a heavy metal, so it can really affect you in your life. So I think those regulations are helping. They are now forming cooperatives. Of course, the cooperatives allows them to have that buffer for them to discuss even with big companies into joint ventures. But one interesting fact I will tell you is that most of the gold, if not to 80 to 90%, is not from Uganda. That the gold we transact from here comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo and South Sudan. South Sudan, of course, from Yei, of course, from DRC, it comes in from the Bunia, the Ituri, those kind of provinces. And of course, you know the complex situation in DRC, the war, the kind of rebel groups there. So the gold easily finds its way through Arua and then to Kampala. And what does that mean? It means that when this gold comes in, it's declared as Ugandan gold, because they are refined. And gold, what happens is when they melt it, and then they make into bars. They stamp it. If they stamp it Gulu, it is Gulu's gold. And if it is taken to Lira and smelted again, they stamped Lira, it is Lira's gold. So it is hard to trace gold and track it. But it's a known fact that most of the gold in Uganda is from DRC and South Sudan. And it's just refined and certified as Uganda's gold. Our gold in Uganda of late, because even if you look at the statistics from Karamoja and the other mining areas, Karamoja, the biggest gold mines in Rupa sub-county, Moroto, or even Amodat, they produce in grams in a day. Because they could get maybe between 500 to 700 to 800 grams a day. Which means if we're having on a daily basis gold coming into the country 200 kilograms, it means literally it's not from Uganda. So what does it mean? It means that Uganda needs to invest in exploration and support our local artisanals so that they know the potential. We attract more international companies. Government needs to interest itself in exploration. Government needs to support the artisanal gold miners financially, because financial institutions don't understand mining. If you go to any bank and say, I want money, I want to mine gold, they will not understand the mining sector. So government needs, through Bank of Uganda, to make it deliberate, now that Bank of Uganda is even joining the program to buy gold, to support the local artisanal miners. Because gold is a good venture. If you see people, young women who have been into mining and they've supported their kids through schools, they have constructed, gold has changed so many lives.
But now they are telling us that it's the first family in this gold industry. How true is that?
Let me give you a perspective. There was a gold rush in Abim. I was still trying to make a point to that. There's a gold rush in Abim, and when I went there on the ground myself, we're trying to help the community so that they get into joint ventures with some international corporations so they can upscale. Because, you know, the complex situation is, even within the 2022 law of the Mining Act, when you read it script by script, you will understand that artisanals are recognized, yes. But artisanals are just being used in that law to do prospecting cheaply for government. Prospecting is like, I think something might be here, let me try. Like that, then you find. So when you find, government then takes a keen look, it's okay. Then another big investor comes and they push you out. Like you've been seeing controversial state cases of, even the case of Wakagaya and the other people. They were artisanos before. So government uses artisanos to just do prospecting. But I think government should change that. That is why we're encouraging artisanos to form cooperatives. And I want to appreciate the efforts of still a lady, Gitu, Lilian Gitu. She runs an organization called Planet Gold. She's been trying to help these artisanal miners to form cooperatives because it gives them a buffer within the law to stand firm. If you are artisanal groups and you don't have cooperatives, it is difficult. The government will come and chase you out, even when they're the ones who gave you the license to do mining at artisanal scale, because they now want big volume of royalty or revenue from the large-scale miners who are going to come on board. Yeah. So I find it painful to see people who have labored to build something from scratch being pushed out by government. That is the only unfair script of the law. That is why in the case of ABIM, which is, I think, to my understanding as of now, one of the biggest gold deposits in Uganda, ABIM, in Larek sub-county, that those guys, the artisanos, when they were even using the simple panning method where they shake and wash the gold, they were producing between 1 kilogram to 2 kilograms a day. Remember, the biggest record has been 500 grams. But these guys were doing a level wash where you just pick soil from the top and wash and get gold. Wash and get gold. That's why you saw over 10,000 people rushed from all over like Africa. Guys even came from Kenya. They were running to ABIM. And I appreciate government for running in to rescue them and try to support them. Of course, even after the soldiers came and pushed the people out, as they were trying to regulate and organize themselves, there were even, of course, reports that soldiers were even mining. The soldiers who were made to protect, they were even trying to do mining themselves, which is unfortunate. I'm glad that the division, the officer on ground there, the commanding officer on ground there, tried to clamp down on some of these errant soldiers because that is not what they're supposed to do. So for the ABIM case, I think government is trying to help the community by even ring fencing. They have ring fenced for them 20 square kilometers. That is about 3 sub-counties of land for them to do mining. So that's why I said Karamoja is not poor. They are rich, but not poor. Or you could say Karamoja is poor but rich. At this point, yes, you can make them look poor, but they're rich. So if I would say, if you say they're poor, yes, you say they're poor, but they're rich. That's the truth. It's so rich but poor. The best statement to perhaps say, because I may not have cash now, is to say maybe I am rich. Or I am rich but I'm poor.
Maybe they haven't realized that they are rich people.
They know. That's why I said if they don't realize it, it's that inferiority fight that was put by funny people in Yubos and all that. So you asked the question that the first family is the one that runs the gold trade. Just like I said, the first family has people like me, you, or any other kind of Ugandan. They're citizens, number one. They're allowed to transact business, open up companies and transact business. What I don't agree with is illicit trade. What I don't agree with is mafia and cartel kind of behaviors in the gold trade. You have seen the scams that came on.
Yes.
Daily Monitor.
We actually saw a story on
the scams that came on NTV. But this has not been the only scam. Gold scams happen in Kampala on a daily. People are waylaid. You come present, somebody says, come, I want to buy your gold, you bring your gold. I've seen artisanal miners crying.
And then someone tells me I have land, there is gold and...
I've seen these things. It had somebody traveling from Karamoja coming to sell the gold in Kampala and they scam people the right procedures of doing things. Okay? Yeah. We need to open up this sector. I even want to have engagements with Bank of Uganda because Bank of Uganda is now coming on board and I will talk more into it. So the gold scams have been happening and that is a bad picture for Uganda. When the first family or you're a big officer in the army, it's wrong. I think for a fact of soldiers in the UPDF have been robbing people in the gold business, which is a true thing. I have seen an officer called Kato is now being prosecuted. He was convicted. Yes. You read the New Vision newspaper. That one, the president himself got involved. I appreciate the president for stepping up to protect investors. These guys went to an investor's refinery and told the man, they came with a lot of claims.
And then this the gentleman called
sponsoring terrorism.
Joram something?
It's called Carlos.
Yes.
Joram is one of the accountants.
Itungo.
Joram Itungo is an accountant who works with State House, you can imagine. And he's a mafia in the gold trade. And he's working in State House. And you are operating a gold mess that messes up the... You see, some things are wrong. And the president, I'm glad, is stepping up to clean up. is personally involved in cleaning up the gold sector. And because gold is Uganda's biggest export earning, if you mess up the sector, it means Uganda will lose a lot.
Yeah.
We're earning billions of dollars from gold. It's a good thing for the gold sector. The gold sector needs to be cleaned up so that we have legitimate people running the business. And let me tell you something. These soldiers who are involved in the gold trade,
Yes.
of course, executed. I think this soldier was convicted. They're now waiting to read the sentence. The sentence was supposed to be done yesterday. But such a person should be dismissed from the military with the disgrace. Our flag, you wear our flag, you can't mess the name of the UPDF in such kind of shoddy transactions. I think they are not stopped from doing the trade, but do it legitimately. I don't think the law says if you're a police officer, you should not open a business. No, open up, but do it legitimately. Don't use the advantage of holding a gun to shoot and kill somebody who is running a gold trade. I've seen traders who have died because of this. So we need to make this a straight business. We need to ensure that we attract more investors. This German investor who was fleeced, I think 1.4 billion. And they were using cartels of lawyers and all that. I think that is not right. That is not right.
We're having the big shots involved in this.
And let me tell you this.
Scandals.
Even people who are investigating the story like Andrew Chamagero, you know he was affected? Remember the story when Andrew Chamagero was being trailed?
Yeah.
That is related to the gold story. So yes,
now
I think we need to have a very honest conversation, and we need to keep this conversation of gold open on the media.
But it is also
open on table. You see, the moment we keep hiding gold, everyone, if you talk gold, everyone thinks you're a mafia, everyone thinks you're a thief and all that. If that is not solved, we will be running away from money. Gold is money. So for that conversation to be handled, we need to bring it on table. We need to even encourage as many people as possible. I would even encourage Alternative Digital for doing a good job to even bring on board some of these big gold traders in this country. Let them tell you their stories. We need to open up the sector. Alone, if we open up this sector, we'll get more investment to the country. Okay? As Alternative, you'll even get more people coming to advertise because they want their products to be purchased. Okay?
Yeah.
So get more people into the mineral sector. I would encourage everybody in media to speak minerals, to make sure that we open the sector, to make sure that the natural resource sector of Uganda, which is the big resource, mafias in the gold trade, like you've had, and some of these run under the cover of their relationship within government, their positions and connections. But I think we're being prosecuted. You will hear more of this coming up. So there's a cleanup going on in the gold sector now, and I should make it clear that Ugandans should not fear the gold sector. Ugandans should not fear the mineral sector. It is money makes scale. Okay? Such people, there are very good stories of local Ugandan women, local Ugandans into the mining sector. That is not being told because the media is also, they call the politics of the minerals or the mineral geopolitics. It is controlled at global scale as well. But I appreciate the fact that bold journalists like Andrew Chamagero put their life on the line push this gold story.
To continue the discussion of gold, the gaps in the gold industry, how do we address those gaps and what is